Good morning, guys. Ryan from Husky Moving here, Arlington, Massachusetts. We are a full-service moving company. There we go. Serving the greater Boston area. We do residential, we do commercial, we do handyman work, artwork mounting, TV mounting. We do odd jobs. We do, what have I done before? I've done some painting. I got rid of a dead raccoon once. Hung a couple of new toilet seats last week. Swapped out a plumbing leaky toilet fill valve. Disassembled a gym this past week. Did the Autism Speaks walk recently. If we can get it done, we'll try to get it done if it helps you out. Anyway, what I want to talk to you guys about today is morale killers on crews. I have a lot of experience with this because before I started my own company, I worked for a couple other moving companies in the town, and I saw a lot. I was with one company in particular for it was a long time. It was I want to say it was 8 or 9 years or something. It was a long time. So I experienced a lot of behaviors on crews, both good and bad. And this is nothing about anyone personally. I got to preface this with full transparency. Some of these things I'm going to talk about, I've been as guilty as anyone else of doing. And I think it takes a little bit of experience to go through certain situations to understand how things start to affect and snowball down the line. So I want to talk about things on crews that can kill morale, because this is very, very, very important. This industry, if you're in the moving business in particular, can beat you down. It will beat you down mentally. It will beat you down physically. If you're at a big moving company and you're working 6 days a week in the summertime, working 10, 12-hour days consistently, it will break you, man. It's hard not to get broken. I've seen grown men break in front of me. I've seen a lot of shit. And so the job itself is brutal. And so when you then have issues within a crew of people, it makes it so much worse. What I've found, and this is just my own personal experience, is that it seems to me if you have a good group of guys that are all pulling in the right direction and they're all pulling with the success of the job being the end goal, if that's the end goal, is whatever we need to do to be successful for this job, if that's the end goal for everyone in the crew, it seems to me that no matter what you throw at a good crew, they'll usually be able to get through it. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be moments where you want to break, not going to be moments where you want to kill your partners, not going to be moments even where you argue about certain things. But you'll get through it. And at the end of the day, typically, it's some version of like a group camaraderie. We got through it. That was brutal, but we did it. On to the next one. What I've found, if you have crew members that aren't pulling in the same direction, that meaning some guys are pulling in their own direction, what's best for me is that the crew will break down. At some point, the crew's going to break down and start going at it with each other, going at it with the customer. It's going to turn into a little bit of a fiasco. Now, I don't mean on a daily basis, but I do mean if you have 1, 2, 3, however many guys that are doing their own thing and always worried about what's best for them and not what's best for the customer or the job or the company or the crew, eventually it's going to rear its ugly head and it will destroy that crew or that company from within. So you got to be real careful about cutting that out if that's going on within your crew. You guys got to be pulling in the same direction. And usually, unfortunately, what that means is everyone on the team is taking their own selfish bullshit. All the thoughts that we have over the course of a day of fuck this, I don't want to be doing this. My coworker is irritating me because of this reason, or the guy who's in charge, which in my case right now would be me. He's annoying the shit out of me because he's asking me to wrap everything. Some of these things I don't understand why I need to wrap. It would be so much quicker if we didn't need to wrap them, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's so fucking anal. Everything needs to be done his way. These are things that I am guilty of for sure. If you have people that are thinking that way, those are natural thought processes over the course of a day. The key is that hopefully you get over those. But the crew killers would be the guys who and these are the things you got to watch out for. These are the things you got to cut out real early because it will eventually destroy that crew. It will eventually destroy from within. I think it destroys a company, if I'm being completely honest with you. I've seen it. For me personally, that's what kind of tore me down, which is like the selfish behavior of other people, where eventually I just got to a point where I was like, dude, fuck this. I don't want to be around this. This is not what I signed up for. I can go start my own shit and vet people and control my own crews and be responsible for who I work with, as opposed to me just showing up every day and just having to work with whoever they give me, regardless of what kind of a person they are or whether they're a good worker or not. So you got to keep an eye on that. But the things that like I would really watch out for are really selfish behavior. So like, goes without saying, but like anyone who's like, you know, taking tips from the guys, like tip stealing, guys that are constantly trying to avoid doing the most difficult stuff. Like they always find a way. They think they're slick about it, but they always find a way to do the easiest shit. They always tend to be tying their shoes whenever something really difficult needs to happen. The guys who willingly push work onto other people, they just they completely just don't give a fuck, and they're like, hey, you guys can go do it. I don't care. Like I got no part of me has any interest in doing that, and I don't take any kind of pride in like doing something that's difficult, and or I don't take any kind of pride in doing something that's difficult so that someone else doesn't have to do it. What else? Guys that are trying to if you're in a larger company, guys who are trying to navigate the paperwork, meaning going through the paperwork in the morning, trying to pull out the easiest jobs and trying to set their day up so it will be easier than the other crews. There was a lot of that, I think, at past companies I worked at. And I could be, you know what, let me preface this by saying I could be wrong about that. That's just what I heard from other people. I would hear people would get into the office early and then go through the paperwork. That's what I was told. I don't know if that's true or not. I actually never saw that happening. So I should preface that with a grain of salt. What else? There was a lot of, at the last company I worked at, there was a lot of what I would consider to be, now guys have their own opinion of this. I have my own opinion. I'm going to call it selfish behavior. I think a lot of people would disagree with me on that. They had their own way of looking at it, which wasn't the same way that I looked at it, and that's okay. But like, if you went out with 2 pieces of paper, 2 jobs, and I went out with 2 pieces of paper, 2 jobs, and your jobs were significantly longer than my jobs, and mine was shorter, and I was going to get done at noon, and you were going to get it done at 4 o'clock, then we were supposed to check in with the other crews and see how they were doing and see if they wanted a hand, meaning if they wanted a hand, we would go over and help them out so they wouldn't be getting out at 4 o'clock. Maybe they'd be getting out at 2 o'clock, so that the work was like evenly, as much as possible, we tried to evenly distribute the work. And as a general rule, if I'm being honest with you, it was more just, I think a lot of it was just more about having like a team environment. So we were all kind of pushing in the same direction, as opposed to just, oh, well, these guys want to get out early every day. So they're just going to take the jobs and then bang out and get done and be done. But which is good in theory for them. But for the other guys, if we got booked on 2 terrible jobs and we were going to be out until 8 o'clock at night, then obviously that's not fair for us. The work should theoretically be evenly distributed. And the way that we did that was we all checked in at the end of the day. Hey, do you need a hand? Do you want a hand? What are you guys doing? Are you guys almost done? Are you not almost done? And if you're not almost done, do you want us to come over and get you guys out of there? The reason I mention this is because there was, not always, but there was definitely a lot of days where there's like guys pulling in their own direction, being like, yeah, I don't want to go over and get out. Like, you guys, I want to get out of here. Like, I want to leave. Which, I mean, I get it in theory, but unfortunately, like, that's kind of not how life works. Like, I didn't really want to be moving furniture for a living. There were a lot of things I didn't want to do, but I was doing them because it was in the best interest of both the crews and the company. And that's just the way it was. There was a lot of pull back on that. Not always. Some days some guys were really good, but there were definitely a lot of days where guys were like very much making it known that they didn't really want to help out, and they didn't really kind of, in my opinion, just my opinion, didn't want to be part of a team. And so that's another thing I would say. Like, if you're constantly noticing that guys are pulling in their own direction in that way, that's something I would cut out really quickly. Guys taking like breaks on their own, that shouldn't, in my opinion, should never be a thing. If you're going to take a break, the entire squad takes a break. You don't have one guy out smoking cigarettes while the rest of the guys are lugging boxes around. Because that to me is like, that's just a selfish douche thing to do. Like, I can't tell you how many times I don't smoke cigarettes, but I can't tell you how many times I've been on jobs where I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I need to eat something. And like, I just kept going, not because I wanted to keep going, but because everyone else was going. And like, I wasn't going to sit down and eat a sandwich while everyone else was working. Obviously, if I was going to eat a sandwich, we were all going to eat a sandwich, or we were all going to stop and take a 15-minute break. What else? Anything else? Any kind of obviously it goes without saying, any kind of drug use, if someone's like thinks that it's appropriate to be doing any kind of drugs during work time, I personally, there are people that completely disagree with me, but there's no instance where I would think it would okay for someone to be on drugs. Now, some people tend to look at weed as being a little bit less of an issue. I don't personally, only because I don't want to be carrying a dresser with someone who's high, or I don't want to be having someone talking to the customer who's high. I don't want to be regarding on someone's work ethic while they're high. And this is during work hours. I'm not talking about after work hours, obviously. That to me is a fireable offense. If that ever happened, I'd be like, you're out of here. That's because that to me is, it's showing the type of judgment you have. If I'm being honest with you, that to me is like, it's completely selfish behavior where you're like, you don't really give a fuck about anyone else. Like, I know you want to smoke weed. I get it. I want to, you know, there's a million things I want to be doing during a job, but I don't do them because it's not good for the job. It's not good for the customer. It's not good for the company. So that to me is a sign of like very selfish behavior and someone who just doesn't kind of get it, I think. They're not, like I said earlier, not to beat a dead horse, but they're not pulling in the same direction as everyone else. What else can I think of that's like that? I guess guys who just don't want to sacrifice for the betterment of the team. Like there's a lot of bullshit over the course of a day where you can distribute out like work and what has to be done, and like you know, like if I'm filling the truck with gas, you can go in and fucking, I don't know, pay. Or if I'm what's a good example? You know, maybe if there's a shitty situation where, like, for example, if a washing machine has to come out of a basement and, like, one guy will get if you're out with 4 guys, for example, like, one set of guys will go get the washing machine, the other set of guys will go get the dryer, and then, you know, because the washing machine is known for being significantly heavier than the dryer, maybe the next time, if there's a situation where there's, like, 2 dressers, one of them's huge and heavy and the other one's not, maybe the crew that got the dryer, which is lighter, will now go get the heavier dresser. And again, none of this has to be, I don't think any of this has to be spoken necessarily. It's more just to like, you keep track of like, kind of you look around and you see who's pulling where and what day and what coworker's like busting his ass and what coworker needs kind of a hand today for whatever reason. Maybe he had like, you know, a brutally hard day yesterday. So maybe today, like you understand that yesterday was his day and he gave it all yesterday. And maybe today you gotta be the one to, now you're going to put everyone on your back today, and maybe you'll put everyone on your back today, and because you do that today, you're not going to have it tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow another coworker has to put everyone on their back tomorrow. And they rifle through and do all the hardest stuff. You'll notice as you go on, certain types of people will gravitate towards the harder things that need to be done, and certain people will gravitate towards the easier stuff that needs to be done. And that's just a function of getting older and being more of a leader, getting a little stronger, getting a little bit more confident. But you'll also notice that some people will just completely kind of take advantage of that. And if you have those types of people, you want to kind of give some thought to whether they're the types of people you want on the squad. Because it kills from internally. When you don't feel as if everyone's working in the same direction, it will kill from inside. And when you feel like everyone is working in the same direction, even when things are completely fucking miserable, you're in misery together. You're a squad together. You're all trying to get to an end goal together, as opposed to like 3 people out together and then one guy off on an island doing his own fucking thing that you know he doesn't give a fuck about this group. He only cares about himself. You know what I mean? And you want to try to cut those people out. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. There's probably 1,000 more examples I can think of, but this video is getting old. So I hope you took some value from this. Sometimes the things you don't do are just as important as the things you do. Sometimes the people you wind up getting rid of are more important than the people you take on. Meaning, I'm a big believer in not always, but addition by subtraction. If you have any of these people that are kind of pulling in their own direction, you might want to give some thought to whether you think you'd be better off not having them around. I know it's nice to have bodies to fill spots. It's nice to have guys to run boxes, blah, blah, blah. But if guys aren't pulling in the same direction you are, it might be a good idea to say goodbye. All right, guys, I hope there's some value in this. If there was, please like and subscribe. And if you need to get a hold of me, my contact information is at the end of the video. info@huskymoving is the email address. And huskymoving.com is the website. Thanks a lot, guys.